between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Events occur in real time.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to FBC Radio Live. It's January the 4th. It's pretty cold down here in Florida. Actually, I had to put the heat on for one of the 5 times I do all year, but it was rather chilly here. Made me wish I had an automatic car starter when I had to leave the house early this morning, and it was a little bit chilly. But I'm sure you, John, and everyone and all my friends up there in the Northeast do not want to hear about it because whatever it is here, I'm sure it's a lot better than what it was this morning up there where you're from.
What is it, like 49 degrees in Tampa and you can't cope with it? It's 19 degrees this morning in Greater Boston.
It's actually 55. It's not even that bad. No, look, it was like it was the low 40s overnight. So give me credit. We were approaching freezing. So it wasn't, it wasn't 55, overnight. It's actually starting to warm up just a tad. But look, it was chilly, man. I went out, sweatshirt, sweatpants, gotta keep myself warm and cozy.
Yeah, you have to, obviously. Absolutely. I mean, I can't stand the cold anymore as I've gotten older and I'm on all these medications to keep me alive. Really thins the blood. So, like, me going out today is going to be a short excursion because it's like 18, 19 degrees and doesn't appear to be getting any warmer than that. But this is the kind of weather and even colder that I'm hoping for on January 30th in Green Bay, Wisconsin at Lambeau Field when the Packers host the Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game.
Oh, man, you hope so, huh?
I hope so. Well, because if he can't win then I'm probably going to give up hope. My guy, Aaron Rodgers, wanted the NFC Championship game at home, finally got it, and he lost to Tom Brady. Well, it wasn't really a cold day last year in Green Bay for the NFC Championship game, and hopefully this year it'll be cold, and if he can't get it done then I don't know what to tell you.
The problem is Tom Brady isn't Matt Stafford, so...
Well, that's the thing. Like, the last guy I want to see walking into the Lambeau Field on NFC Championship Sunday is number 12 in pewter and whatever other colors they wear.
Yeah, hopefully not all red because based on their performances in those all reds, it's just not been good.
Green Bay usually wears the green jerseys at home, so it would be white. Which if it's snow, now you play around with that a little bit because you want to wear, you want the other team to wear white in the snow because they may not be able to find the receivers, but you may not find the defensive back. We're a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I do think that's what's going to happen unless they're just in a spot where they beat the divisional round because of upsets or seeding or whatever. And I hope that doesn't happen either.
No, and look, I mean, I still, overall, I think I think that's the most likely scenario. Now, again, each team has dealt with injuries all season. They've had little hiccups here and there, but and by that I mean, like, there's times where they look like, the top team in the league one half, and then the second half not so much, and that's a pattern we've seen from both the Bucks and the Packers. So I do anticipate that being the matchup again, especially because I'm sure the Packers are probably going to get a pretty decent matchup in their first round. Whoever ends up, whatever the lowest seed is that makes it out of the wild card round, obviously would go to Lambeau. So I think they should win that game, which would obviously put them in the NFC Championship game. But no, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, the battle that's ongoing right now is the MVP battle, and certainly one that I have paid close attention to. But before we dive into that, John, I want to ask you a question. Maybe you know this, and maybe one of our listeners knows this as well. There was a certain show that debuted today in 1984, which, in my opinion, has one of the better theme songs of all time. Do you know what show that is, John?
Is it Cheers?
No, not Cheers. Not Cheers. I'll give you 2 more guesses.
1984. Is it a comedy?
Yeah, it's a comedy sitcom.
Okay. 1984. Is it The Cosby Show?
No.
No.
One more chance.
One more guess. 1984, a sitcom. Let's go with. I think this debuted earlier than 1984, but I enjoyed the show growing up. Family Ties.
Oh,
That's not the right
strike
answer.
three. You're out.
Strike three. I'm out.
It
Well,
was.
it's better than a ground out, isn't it? I mean, they tell me because of analytics, striking out is better than grinding
No,
out. Ground.
yeah, right. Someone would probably will.
Yeah.
No, Night Court. What am I love this show.
Oh,
Yes.
right, yeah.
Yeah, Night Court, 1984. I love this theme song too. Obviously, I mean, it's pretty nice little beat. You know, you get yeah, there you go. See.
Yep.
Love the jazz in the back. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. No, I'd say this is one of the better, especially older show theme songs. Again, this came out in 1984. It was before I was born.
Yep.
So I obviously watched a lot of this after on syndication, but definitely one of my more enjoyable shows when I was a kid growing up, because they did play it a lot. I believe on like A&E or all those. What is it? Court TV probably. Is that thing still around? But yeah, 1984. Any other? You agree that's one of the top theme songs, right?
Oh yeah, I love that theme song.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's why I love Seinfeld, though. They don't have a theme song, which they didn't need all the bells and whistles. They just had Jerry open the show with a few jokes and then the little rejoiner that they would have.
A little bass,
Yeah.
Bass guitar, a little boom, boom, boom. I like it. It's simple. It's effective. Not every long theme song to TV shows, obviously. Sometimes it's just a little bit too drawn out. I feel like you get a lot of those long intros now because they always try to like squeeze in all the credits, like in the intro now, because it kind of forces you to see it. Some shows do it right, others don't. Obviously, one that comes to mind very well is Game of Thrones. They obviously had a very long, dramatic intro, which was always enjoyable. Everyone loved the music. They haven't been doing it on the new season of Dexter, but previously they had a pretty long opening, which I enjoyed. But for the most part, I like the quick to the point, little snazzy beat or whatever. It's pretty good. So
my favorite theme song of all time is Hawaii Five-0.
Okay, yeah.
I know I'm old, and there was a reboot of Hawaii Five-0 that started about 10, 11 years ago, which I didn't like. I love the original, but the theme song I think still holds up really well. Mission Impossible, which obviously had the great movie franchises, also very, very good. But yeah, then you can go to some sitcoms, older sitcoms, which have lyrics in it, like All in the Family, where they sing. So they're all really good. But yeah, 1984. Wow, that's a while ago. As you said, you weren't even born, and I was already washed up at that point. Actually, I was only 21 years old.
Oh, come on, John. Yeah, I think you got to give yourself a little bit more credit than that.
I flamed out early.
Not as much credit, though, as some are giving Aaron Rodgers. You like how I did that? A little segue right into it.
Very good.
Because I've been, I wouldn't say fuming, because that would imply that this actually angers me. It doesn't necessarily anger me. I'm just passionate about it. I feel very strongly about my opinion. There's a difference. I'll give you.
I think it angers you, but that's okay. We can discuss that another time.
I'll tell you what. I'll admit that the hypocrisy and blatant, just tunnel vision coming from a certain Midwestern city up there near the border of Canada. That's what angers me. It's not necessarily the race.
Well,
I like the race. I do. I like tight MVP races because it makes for great conversation down the road. And if you listen to me, we both have admitted these are the two guys in the race. I haven't said anything or never suggested that Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be considered in the race. That's absurd. But when I see people say that it's Aaron Rodgers, and again, if you listen to the show, both you and I love Joe Burrow Glendon. Okay. You see,
I'm your brother Joe.
Yeah,
yep.
I'm gonna force it into reality. That's what's gonna happen. Because, like I said, I need that inheritance. I want to be I'm going to be the guy that that just leeches onto the success of others, and I'll take that and I'll enjoy that for the rest of my life. But no, seriously, to sit there and suggest with a straight face that the race is down to Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow, and that Tom Brady is again just an absolute blatant display of hypocrisy, and a very, again, very non-objective way of looking at this, because what reason would you have Burrow in it over Tom Brady? It's kind of a rhetorical question, but maybe I'm asking you to maybe dive
No,
into the
I would
mind
I
of
would put
them.
him. I would put him third. It's just recency bias. He's thrown for
Yeah.
nearly 1,000 yards the last 2 weeks. He just beat Patrick Mahomes in a shootout in Cincinnati. They just clinched the NFC North. First time they're going to the playoffs in 6 years. They're the Cincinnati Bengals. Although Tom Brady going to Tampa last year and resurrecting the losingest franchise in American team sports history is a try to top that one. Yeah. So I mean, I if I'm voting, I think it's gonna. I think it would be Rodgers, Brady, Burrow. You obviously think it would be Brady, Rodgers, and Burrow. I think Burrow's a contender, but I don't know how you can leave out Brady or Rodgers. I could see leaving out Burrow. He just hasn't had the same year as those two guys. His team hasn't been as good. He hasn't been as consistent. So, I mean, if you're going to leave one of the three out, leave Burrow out and go with the two old guys. But to leave Brady out of the discussion is lunacy. But don't be surprised that Packer fans or people up in Wisconsin are, trumpeting Aaron Rodgers' case for the MVP. I mean, I told you before.
That's not surprising at all. It's media.
They're the most ridiculous. Oh yeah, they're ridiculous up there. I mean, I thought Patriots media is pretty, honky, but the Green Bay Packers media is the honkiest of all in the NFL. I mean, they never ask tough questions. They never,
Well,
they just
again,
throw more love and bouquets at the players and the organization because there's nothing else there. It's like that's a cottage industry, right? The Green Bay Packers are a cottage industry. They just made $100 million with that stock sale.
Well,
I mean, which is to me seems a little weird, right? I mean, who's paying $300 for a piece of paper that says I'm part owner of the Packers? Well, I'm part owner of the Packers. I want to call plays on Sunday.
Let's put it this way. I paid a lot more money for another piece of paper that's hanging up on my wall, so I'm not going to shame.
No, I know where you're going with that.
Yeah,
I know where you're going with that.
I'm not going to shame. I would trade that in 100 times or 10 times at least. So
yeah.
So
I know you don't even have to tell me what that means. No, I know exactly what you mean. $300 actually is a bargain.
Yeah, trust me. I take, like I said, I take that 10 times over base versus what I have. But anyways, we're not going to get.
Then you can say I'm Aaron Rodgers' boss, right?
Yeah.
I pay $300. I have a piece of paper hanging on the wall. I'm technically Aaron Rodgers' boss. I'm part owner of the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, I mean, there's no more insular fan base, franchise, whatever in the NFL than.
Well, again, it's fun and it's acceptable when it's like, okay, it's fans. It is what it is. I have fun with the fans because it's fun to watch them run around in circles sometimes. But when I look at it, I worry that again this mentality is seeping into the minds of people that actually might have an influence on the vote, and that's why I push back because this entire race, like I said, has just been filled with just hypocrisy and just blatant misrepresentation of like narratives. Like, and for example, John, one of the things that just gets thrown in there just so casually and just so recklessly is, oh, well, Aaron Rodgers has done this without X, Y, and Z, this guy, that guy, so-and-so, all that stuff. And it's like, we heard it with the Cardinals, and this is an example of manipulating the numbers here a bit. Oh, Aaron Rodgers beat the Cardinals without his top 3 pass catchers. Well,
no wide receiver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's
what
I mean.
That's semantics.
Well, semantics, but it's also a very deliberate manipulation of the point, and it makes it stronger. That slight variation makes it stronger because when you say pass catchers, well, yeah, it sounds bad, but the reality of it is 3 of his top 4 pass catchers played in that game. It was Devontae Adams who missed that game. And then that brings me to the bigger point. When you take a look at Devontae Adams, I have the piece of paper right here. I don't have the graphic. I wish I actually would have had it ready to pull up here, but I didn't. I do have my notes though. When you factor in Randall Cobb, who when he's out is apparently the most dynamic slot receiver of all time, but when he's on the field against the Cardinals, he doesn't matter. Side note. But when you take into account Randall Cobb, Aaron Jones, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Devontae Adams, Robert Tonyan, and Alan Lazard, they have a combined 22 games missed. And I'm not counting next week. I put in the graphic, I put a plus next to the players that are obviously going to be out next week. So you can just add a game. I just didn't want to assume. 22 total games missed between all those skill players. Now, on the flip side, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette, Gio Bernard, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski. You know how many games they've missed? 22.
27. 22, yeah. So
22.
I'm not pushing that agenda.
No, trust me. When I talk about this,
yeah.
I'm not talking to you. I'm hoping there's some listening ears out there that will hear this, because this has been one of those big talking points when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. Oh, look at what he's doing with all these injuries. Now, I'll give him credit. Yeah, Bakhtiari's been out for the season.
That's more
injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the
offensive
day,
line.
Is that also enough to ultimately, at the end of the day, when they're both top 10 units, Buccaneers and Packers on the offensive line, like how much of an impact or how much of
we can agree
that
but we can agree that the reason, and again, this is throwing plaudits at both quarterbacks, those are two top 10 offensive lines because of the quarterback, checking into the right run play, getting rid of the ball quickly, diagnosing. So it's almost like, and we see that all the time. And younger brother Joe Burrow has been sacked a lot because he's learning.
Yeah,
right. He's not at the same level as Brady and Rodgers. He's going to learn because he seems like a guy that loves football. That's the first thing.
No, and
I think he'll be that guy.
I agree with that 100%.
Look, a lot of those Tampa linemen I never heard of until Brady showed up, and now they're going to the Pro Bowl and signing long-term contract extensions. And the same thing in Green Bay, where guys are coming in and out, and
so I think
guys are coming off the street. I mean, that's part of the reason they're the two best quarterbacks. These other guys aren't at that level, right? Like
I don't think
you would have never seen Brady and Rodgers do what Mahomes did last year in the Super Bowl.
No,
they would not have panicked the way he did in that game.
So we can
Rodgers
both agree.
2 weeks before that. Oh yeah, no, they're both.
We're straying from the point. I don't I'm just saying, we can agree that is both an advantage for them now. And I will, again, in the sake
which
of
they've
being
earned,
objective,
by the way.
In the sake of being objective, because I have touted PFF stats for certain situations or whatever. Brady's offensive line has been graded higher. That's fine. That's one of the few areas in which, maybe you can sit there and say he has an advantage, but the way it's being framed, the injuries argument, again, doing so much more with less, yada yada yada, all that stuff. It's a very weak and again, hypocritical argument, because you're seeing the same people denounce Brady, prop up Burrow, and obviously give the award to Aaron Rodgers. My hope is that someone listening will change their mind, and maybe it'll seep in. And the reality of it is, it's just everything that you would think would favor Aaron Rodgers actually favors Tom Brady. And by that I mean the deep dive stats of it all. Again, how much help is he getting from the receivers? This isn't saying who's better or who's not. We both agree that Devontae Adams is arguably the best receiver in the game. That's not a disadvantage to Rodgers. That shouldn't be used to knock him. What should necessarily prop up Brady, though, and again, this isn't a knock on Rodgers. This is a prop up for Brady and giving him more credit than probably what he's getting, is the massive disparity in drop passes, which directly affect a lot of these quote unquote numbers that Rodgers is dominating. And by dominating, I mean he has a 0.8 point lead in QBR, which is a big number for the pro Rodgers crowd, and completion percentage, which again, I think we both agree, completion percentage is not accuracy.
Tua leads the league in completion percentage.
Yeah, exactly.
And that means absolutely not. I mean, accuracy is the throw that Brady made to win the game against the Jets. Accuracy is Aaron Rodgers hitting Devontae Adams along the sideline on a pass, which I think I could have caught. Like, he just put his hands out and the ball landed in his hand. I mean, that's why those, again, we're beating a dead horse here. They're the two best guys out there.
When you talk about, and also when you talk about, I brought this up yesterday, when you talk about, because I'm glad you brought up that pass that Tom Brady threw. When you talk about MVP moments, okay? And again, this isn't an indictment on Rodgers. This is just me saying I think Brady's just been better. Twice in the past, 4 weeks, he's thrown a game-winning touchdown, first in overtime against the playoff-bound Colts, and then obviously against the Jets in overtime, or in the fourth quarter with 14 seconds left. after the 14-point deficit. And then you add in the fact, if you go all the way back to week 1, and I know Packers fans, this is a crazy thing. They want to absolutely discount week 1, and I guarantee you, had Aaron Rodgers gone out and thrown 3 or 4 touchdowns on week 1, that the idea of just making that call or calling that the 4th preseason game would never enter their mouths.
Of course, we know that. We know how everybody shapes the narrative. Absolutely.
But that is being used as a legitimate talking point. Oh, well, Chris Collinsworth on Sunday Night Football basically justified, oh, that was week 1. It didn't really matter. No, it matters. But see, now I'm getting off track. Go back to that Dallas game. 1 minute and 14 seconds left. No time or one timeout. Dallas had just gone down and taken a 29-28 point lead.
Mm-hmm.
What does Tom Brady do? Marches them down the field 57 yards to set up the game-winning field goal with 3 seconds left.
So no surprise. Like we were watching that game, and that was like, that's going to happen, right? And that's why.
And you're talking
even when
about
Belichick decided to kick a 56-yard field goal, I go, great. Even if Nick Folk makes that, you know who's going to come out of the sideline, go into the huddle, and win the game of the game. I mean, it's like I was talking to my nephew yesterday, who loves Tom Brady, by the way. Maybe I'll hook you guys up to have discussions and have a bromance. But he's like, did anybody think he wasn't going to throw a game-winning touchdown against the Jets the other day? Like, did anybody everybody in the stands, everybody watching on TV, Zach Wilson, Robert Schala, like everybody, we were just watching going, okay, this is the most predictable thing we're ever going to see. And when it happened, I was like, the only mistake Brady made is he left a little time on the clock. That's probably what he's stewing about because he's such a goddamn perfectionist. No,
well,
I mean,
and you think about the 2 players that caught those touchdowns.
Sure, yeah.
Rashad Perriman.
Yep.
Cyril Grayson. And this is no mark on either of those 2 players. You're going to need the Bucs are going to need both of them moving forward. But again, it kind of just flies in the face of this whole idea that Aaron Rodgers has been saddled with such a disadvantage compared to Tom Brady. And unfortunately, that's a narrative that has become a reality for some. And John, that's what angers me right there. That's what actually makes me angry.
I see. I see your
not
point.
That one guy, because you remember last year, I could maybe have come up with a good reason or good case for Tom Brady last year, but I didn't fight against Aaron Rodgers. I said he deserved the MVP last year. And for for many of the same reasons that Tom Brady obviously deserves the award this year, but because it's Tom, the narrative has shifted. And again, it's a lot of hypocrisy and some really creative ways to twist and manipulate numbers and narratives to really force the issue with Aaron Rodgers. And that's why I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a fun practice or fun exercise for myself to break this all down into a bit of an article, a story.
This is nothing quite like the 2016 presidential election, which I covered, or even the 2020 presidential election.
Much more vicious, right?
Much more serious, exactly. Oh, way more vicious. Although maybe if Roger Stone can get involved in this, it would really be interesting. But I just hope on Friday the 11th, the day after the MVP is awarded, that we're not going to need a recount in Pennsylvania or Arizona, and no one's going to storm the Capitol if the vote doesn't come out the way they want it to. So I just want to make sure that doesn't happen.
I'm saying it now.
Antonio Brown may throw off his shirt again. I don't know.
Short of catastrophic, absolutely devastating, worst performance of an entire career times 10 this Sunday, it would be an absolute crime if Tom Brady does not walk away with the MVP trophy.
See, that's where I think you go a bit too far, though. I think it's going to be close.
No, it's close. But it's close.
Not a crime if one guy,
it is. Sure, but here's the thing, though, and a lot of, and this is the other area where people err when it comes to interpreting what my argument is. Most people look at it as, oh, you're trying to make the case for Brady to overtake Rodgers. No. I'm making this case from the point of strength. Because at the end of the day, as much as people want to say, oh, look at what Rodgers has done, this, that, and the other, he's still behind Brady. Like, the fact that he's 1,000 yards, like, I understand, like, people want to somehow make pass attempts or times you throw a negative against Brady, which, again, it defies logic when you try to explain it. But he is 1,000 yards behind him. He leads a top 10 offense at number 10 as opposed to number 2 for Tom Brady. There's a lot again. So my argument's coming from a point of strength where it should just be icing on the cake, whereas a lot of people are going to interpret it as this is my last ditch effort to try to elevate Brady over Rodgers. No, this is just me piling on. So that's where I think my argument may be misinterpreted.
Where we rank the offenses, I think we can do this. I mean, leave those New Orleans games in there, right? I mean, Brady.
Oh, you have to because they're part of the game.
Leave them in there. They're part of the game.
No one except Packers fans have wanted to eliminate.
No, they're part of the game. I'm not. The one thing is with the Packers offense, the game he missed, they scored 7 points. So the games he's played, they've averaged 28 points per game. Again, you can blame him for missing that. I will because it was on him. It's not like he didn't have a sprained ankle. But
using the Jordan Love argument, you can't do because again, at the same time, that's you saying, "Oh, of course,
right.
Blaine Gabbert would have done exactly what." Right? No, if Blaine Gabbert's starting for the Buccaneers, they're a non-playoff team, just like they've been for the past 20 years without Tom Brady.
He'll be blacked out in Tampa. No one will even go to the game. So So that part a little bit there. I think it's going to be very, very close. I think that I don't see it being a tie, which happened in 2003. So there's a precedent for that, which would be interesting to see both of them share the MVP. That would be pretty interesting. I don't think it's going to go there because there's a few other candidates, and Brady did finish third in 2003, right? Didn't he get an MVP vote or two when Manning and Steve McNair tied? So And look, there's going to be people that vote for Jonathan Taylor. There's going to be a few people that vote for Cooper Kupp. I just don't like the system, though, because you only get one vote, right? So it's like I wish they would just have first, second, and third, kind of like the way the Heisman is, and you get 5 points for first, 3 for second, and 1 for third, and you kind of add that up, and it's a little bit different. I'm more concerned with something that's going to happen sooner than that, though, Ian. That's the Hall of Fame voting, and the latest tracker I see is my man is at 81%. You need 75% to get in, so maybe I'll be going to Cooperstown next August to see my man Barry Bonds get inducted. But also, and just so you know, I've only said this a million times, Bonds, Brady, same high school. Yes. Not the same year. I think they're 13 years apart. How's that for one high school? Yeah. Like you have the greatest football player ever, and in my opinion, the greatest baseball player ever. The third best athlete that come out of that school is Lynn Swan, who's in the Hall of Fame. It's like, Jesus, that's quite the high school reunion those boys can get together with.
Yeah, seriously. It's like if they had those, like if you go to like colleges where it's like reunion time, where it's like they have 10 set up for every year, 1965, 1975, all that stuff. If they did that for high schools, that would be draw quite a crowd, I would say.
Brady said for the longest time, I think he grew up a Giants fan. I know he liked the Yankees too, but I'm sure he grew up a Giants fan, and Bonds was there in 1993, so he was probably a Bonds fan. He often said, and obviously going to the same high school is pretty cool. He always said, "I'll never be the most famous guy from my high school." Now, we'll see. I mean, we're talking about the greatest football player ever and the greatest baseball player ever. I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment. But he may have even surpassed Bonds at this point. Well, I think he has because of the championships. And again, you don't hold not winning World Series against baseball players. You just can't. It's a totally different sport. I mean, the guy can only get up once every 9 times to do something, and then in the 2002 World Series, they continually walked him to the point of Mike Scioscia, the manager of Angels, going, "I'm not pitching to him." That'd be like saying, "Tom, you're the greatest quarterback ever, but you can't handle the football today.
You can't throw it. You can't
throw the ball. You can hand it off, but you're going to be Mac Jones against Buffalo today. Good luck."
Oh man, that's wild, but. I don't know, John. It's going to be interesting. I like the tight race. I just, I hope cooler heads prevail when it comes to reasonable heads prevail when it comes to this race at the end of the day. So
I want to get you and Pete Bukowski together.
Oh man,
I think he's a cheesehead in Green Bay. Oh, I mean, I watched the press conferences. The questions are just so funny.
Well,
I mean, they're just I think the players are probably like, "Wow, this guy's really blowing smoke up."
Think about this, John. We've been hearing all season, Aaron Rodgers has missed this great player, that great player, this great player. I think A.J. Dillon just became the number 1 highest graded running back in the league, blah, 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 all this stuff. And how great the team is. Their 3rd straight season, 13-3. They lose in the NFC Championship. You know what it's going to be? Not enough help. Team wasn't good enough.
Oh, I will not go there. No, I will not go there.
No. No,
I will
again,
not
you
go.
you would not
I
go there.
I
know
never. I
that.
don't go there. No,
I know,
I
I
don't
know,
go
I know,
there.
I know.
Yeah.
You won't, John. Of course not. You.
Because I'm reasonable. I'm
Yeah.
ready, willing, and able to criticize my guys, my sons of Aaron
Exactly.
Rodgers and LeBron James.
Yes.
But I just, yeah, no, he's in a great situation there. Are you kidding me? Like, and the other thing too is what part of what makes him great and what makes that team really dangerous is the quarterback wide receiver combo, right? I mean, like when all else fails, you need a first down. Can you think of much better combination? Like I would say Brady to Gronk, and Gronk's not his prime anymore, but he's still damn good. I know he had a couple game stretch where he had some drops, but you know he's still Gronk. Brady to Gronk, Rodgers to Devontae Adams. Those are like the two combinations in the NFL I would trust the most to get me on third and 8. Like somehow Devontae Adams is going to get open and he's going to deliver the ball properly, and somehow Gronk's going to get open and Brady's going to find him and deliver it properly.
The Brady to Grayson connection is
absolutely
heating up. You never know. You never know.
You see, I think he's thrown 12 passes his way in the last 2 years, and he's completed 10. He has like a perfect passer rating.
Look, I mean, we kind of kid, but you know, he is
it's
starting to kind of find his groove. And look, I mean, maybe
the
loss
of
maybe the loss of Antonio Brown is addition by subtraction, and
maybe it's a headache out of the way. And in terms of everything else, I mean, the quarterback generally makes the wide receivers.
Yeah,
I mean, the wide receivers are the most dependent players in all of sports. That's why many of them are a little nuts, like because they, you know, are very dependent. That's one of the reasons I like Devontae Adams so much is he doesn't seem like a diva wide receiver.
No, which is
like which I like that. I like.
Well, you think of some of those guys, and you're talking about in the last 15 to 20 years, you're talking about Calvin Johnson, Andre Johnson. You know what I mean? Those guys
not divas. Yeah, not divas.
Great receivers. No. Larry Fitzgerald, another guy who's
the best.
The pro.
The best.
A pro of a pro. So
the diva of the Green Bay Packers is the quarterback.
Yes, he is, and it was very fitting.
And I love him.
We'll leave it at this. It was very fitting that he touted his Ayn Rand Atlas Shrugged novel, and nothing
was that awesome?
Like if you were gonna tell me that was his like desert island book, I would just mind blown at how obvious it should have been and how I didn't think of it before. Because if any book sums up
he's pretty much a liberal guy who likes Ayn Rand, who conservatives love. But again, I've always connected that the far left and the far right are much closer together than they think they are. Yeah, now he's just like anti-vaxxer.
It's like you think the United States and Russia's so far away, but when you get to Alaska, it's only about a hop, skip, and a jump. You like that? You like that analogy?
Ian, whatever you paid for that piece of paper on the wall, it just showed how much it's worth it with that analogy.
And we're gonna leave it at that.
That's a Colin Coward level analogy.
I said we're going to end on a high note. Let's keep ending that on a high note. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you later in the week.